Welcome back to DONSLIFE. Welcome to the channel. I've got a quick but important update for you on the GM 6.2 liter L87 engine recall. We now have new data posted by the NHTSA, as well as a real-world trade-in story from one of our Canadian viewers who also went through the recall process with his Cadillac Escalade. This should help all of us understand what's really happening with resale values, especially for trucks and SUVs that pass the recall inspection. Let's go. So let's start with the facts. According to the latest NHTSA Quarterly Report for Recall 25V274, GM has identified just under 600,000 vehicles affected, mostly 2021 to 2024 trucks and SUVs with a 6.2 liter L87 V8. As of the end of the third quarter of 2025, about 198,000 of those vehicles have been remedied. That's roughly 1/3 completed, meaning there's about 400,000 vehicles still waiting for inspection or repair. GM's recall campaign officially started this past June 2025, and they've said only about 3% of engines are expected to need a full replacement. The rest should just require an inspection and an oil spec update. Now, based on how recalls of this size usually progress, I would estimate that this recall will be mostly completed not until the end of next year, 2026. It's possible that with lower volume dealers in rural areas, it could even stretch into early 2027. Again, I'm speculating, but just based on the rate of completion so far, I think that well into 2026 is a safe bet. So if your vehicle hasn't been officially called in yet, don't panic. This recall is still ongoing and very much still in the active phase. Now, I'm not pulling this information out of thin air. I have the actual quarterly report right here, and I will link it in the video description below. Now, before we start talking about trade-in numbers, I just wanted to remind everyone, I only share information that I can personally verify through official documents, dealer data, or first-hand stories from viewers that can provide proof. If I can't confirm something, I'll be straight up, and you should be careful out there. I don't know about you, but I've noticed a surge in automotive news channels posting clickbait headlines that are either very misleading or actually completely false. I'm actually working on another video now exposing some of this content. I debated with myself on whether or not I should even do this video, but I believe I owe it to you, to my audience, to just tell you facts from fiction. So make sure you subscribe and turn those notifications on so you don't miss that one. All right, let's talk about this Escalade trade-in story. Now, you'll see me refer to some of my notes here because I do not want to get any of these details wrong, sharing them with you. One of our Canadian viewers just traded in his 2022 Cadillac Escalade Sport Platinum, basically the same vehicle that Mrs. DONSLIFE and I have, and he traded it in for a 2026 Cadillac Escalade Sport Platinum. He sent me the full retail worksheet from the dealer and has also given permission for me to share all of the numbers with you. Now, I'm not going to share the actual dealership name, but it is one of my neighboring provinces up here in Canada. Now, now I need a drink. All this talking makes me thirsty. This is probably my favorite water bottle. If you want to get something similar or just check them out, I'll leave a link in the video description below. Now, unlike our 2022 Cadillac Escalade, which is also part of this recall, we passed the inspection, his did not, and received a replacement engine. And it was at that moment that he decided that he was going to trade up for a 2026 model. Now, here are some of the details of what happened. The new 2026 Cadillac Escalade has an MSRP of 169,348 Canadian dollars, which is about 123,000 US dollars. After an $8,500 discount, the selling price dropped to 160,848 dollars Canadian, or roughly 117,000 USD. Once you add in the applicable taxes and fees, the total came to 185,299 dollars Canadian, or about 134,000 dollars USD out the door. Now for his trade. The dealer offered 83,000 Canadian, or about 60,000 dollars US for his 2022 Cadillac Escalade. That vehicle originally stickered for around $132,700, roughly $96,000 US. This was back in 2022. That means that over the 3 years, it lost roughly 37% of its original value, which honestly, that's pretty in line with most high-end SUVs. So the replaced engine stigma doesn't seem to be present in this case. I just want to be fair and remind everyone to be cautious because you will find stories out there where trading values were reduced further because of recall status or uncertainty. But I need to emphasize, these are most likely for unremedied cars, meaning they hadn't received an inspection, nor do we know the outcome, whether they needed a replacement engine or just a new spec oil. Now, as of today, I haven't found any verifiable evidence to show that past inspection L87 engines have been systematically discounted more than normal. The loudest anecdotal cases seem to be those vehicles that are in open recall status. Now, like I said, I'm just going off the information I have to date. Of course, I invite any conflicting information or even information that confirms what I'm talking about, just send it my way. My email's in the link below. I'm happy to review it. And if we find anything that's worthy of sharing, I'll definitely share it with the rest of you. So what can we learn from this? So if your truck or SUV, like mine, has already passed the L87 recall, meaning that it just received the change in the oil spec to 0W40, you're probably not looking at any special depreciation above what the market is already doing. You would hope that dealers would care more about mileage, condition, and service records way more than whether or not your recall was a pass or a replacement. In fact, and at risk of repeating myself, the only vehicles seeing any significant hits to trade-in value are those that are in open recall status. And that's because the dealers can't sell them until the recalls are complete. And of course, this is just one experience that was shared with me and some of the research that I did, and there's bound to be some variances out there. So to sum it all up, GM has completed about 1/3 of the L87 recalls so far. Completion across North America will likely take us into late 2026 and maybe in some cases early 2027. A past or failed recall doesn't seem to significantly hurt trade-in values, especially if GM has closed the recall in their system. And again, double check the sources of what you watch. There's a lot of noise out there, and I'll keep doing my best to separate fact or fiction for you guys. And you know me, I'm not about fear-mongering. So thanks again for watching. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, hit the hype button if it shows up on your device. You can do that up to 3 times, which helps small channels like this grow. And on that note, keep those comments and stories coming in. Your real-world experiences help thousands of people make better decisions.